Hey everyone! In the past I've made videos about Tonks and the Yellow Cube, both the brainchildren of Ben from Apocrypha Now. And when I heard that Ben was working on a new skirmish game with Bill from Bill Making Stuff here on YouTube, I was pretty excited. And when Bill asked me if I wanted to be part of a YouTube challenge where we all build bots, I was even more excited. And before I knew what I got myself into, I was on a call with all my favorite creators and we rolled up some bots for Bangarang in the Gutterlands, the new game, on the bot generator. A very great tool to see what kind of stuff you can do. And I came up with something, well, I rolled up something, and I even made a sketch while we were on the call of the bot I'm going to build now. And it's not much, but it's honest work. And instead of scratch building it, I decided to sculpt it all myself. And this is a first for me. I've never sculpted a whole mini by myself, like all the parts. I sculpted some parts here and there, but I want to take you on the journey to making my bot a reality for Bangarang in the Gutterlands, sculpting it all, painting it, and see what we can do. So, let's go. In the past I was using green stuff to sculpt some things like this little Bosch inspired fella, but green stuff takes a lot of time to harden up, and so I was using some bees putty for this guy, a little test model. And the good thing is you can just pop it into the oven and it is hard in like 20 minutes or so, and it really is easy to use. It has a great texture. It's not as hard as green stuff when you sculpt it, so it's easy on the hand. And since I'm not the best sculptor, I'm using some tin foil to shape up all the different parts of the model in the first place. Part of the challenge was to roll a d20 and see what kind of aesthetic you roll up on the Bangarang bot generator, and I rolled up grinder head, beefy arm, barbed hands, nice pins and dirty. So these are kind of the guidelines. So for nice pins I got 3 legs, and of course I have this little grinder pin for the head. And after getting all the different parts in aluminum foil, I take the bees putty and wrap the parts in the putty. And this not only saves me some material in the putty, but it makes the whole bot a bit lighter and easier to put into the oven. It will harden way faster, and it was easier for me to use the aluminum foil to get the shape I wanted. And it already feels pretty good. I can already see the head in here somewhere. And I take all these parts and I put them into the oven. And after 20 minutes, they are all hard as rocks. Now I just have to connect all the parts together. Easier said than done, as we will see in the future, because at this point I had no idea how to connect them all. But the first part was easy. I just used some bees putty, smudged it on there and got the head attached to the body. And then I'm using some little bibs and bobs, some sausages, some balls, and I put it on there and smush it around with my silicone tool just to get some interesting things and shapes. At this point I had no idea what kind of details I wanted on there or how the bot would even look in the end, but I just added parts to get something on there and let the bees putty tell me what to do next. And a robot, it needs some buttons, it needs some antennas and a little back piece here, and of course my bot will need some eyes.
And one of the first ideas I had was that I love the aesthetic of many eyes on the bots. So he gets 7 nice lenses on there, and with my scalpel I'm shaping some buttons on the front to kinda get that sci-fi look going. And with the arms and the legs I needed some kind of ornaments, and this was all freestyle. And a good technique I found for myself is just putting a ball on there, pushing it down and cutting out the shape with my hobby knife. A problem I ran into pretty frequently was while working on one part, I smushed down another part with my fingers, but I quickly found out the easiest solution to that is to just go step by step, and every time I liked something on there, I put it into the oven and made like a little safe state for myself. The legs got some roundish sausages around them, and I just thought maybe I put on some balls there to get some visual interest, and the same with the grinder pin for the face. The most time intense stuff here, putting down little pins or needles, and this honestly took longer than I would like to admit. The part underneath the body, the groin area so to speak, got a little eye because I just like sculpting eyes. I learned that from my fish tank. And while trying out some different kind of guns and barrels, I found just laying out a flat line and putting it into a round shape and attaching it to this thing makes a pretty easy gun. And a plus point for that is that it kinda looks like a Mega Man weapon, if you remember the old video games, the Mega Buster. I kinda liked that design, and it informed how I went on with the aesthetics of my bot, because Mega Man video game and boss was the kind of aesthetic I was going for from this point on, even with this comically large fist I sculpted for him. And then it was time to put all the different parts together, and a good thing I found for that is to pin it with guitar string I had laying around. It was a kind of a thick guitar string from an acoustic guitar, and I could easily cut it up into the length I wanted, and it's pretty sturdy and it has all these little riffles, so it connects very good with the aluminum inside of the pieces. And at this point I was already seeing the bot, the finished bot, and I just had to do it. So I used some tools to bend the guitar string, because getting the right angle for the meat grindy face rolling pin, trademark, wasn't that easy. But after some trial and error I got the right angle, and I drilled some holes. Of course, before I drill my holes I always do a little dent with my hobby knife, my scalpel, to get the center and not get it crooked. And I'm using my little hobby drill, and it's easy as pie, especially because it's just the aluminum foil inside, and with those 2 holes I could get the right angle. The guitar string was so sturdy that it wasn't moving at all, and I did the same thing with the arms. Again, not super easy to find the right angle or to make it stay, but after fiddling around a bit, it wasn't as hard as sculpting some real arms. And even though I wasn't too thrilled in the beginning, this kind of aesthetic, like the big meaty arms with the dangly guitar string as a connector, it really grew on me, and I was surprised how sturdy it was. And because I rolled up nice pins, I didn't give him like beautiful legs, but well, 3 legs are better than 2, and you could say those are some nice pins if you have 3 of them. And here I bended the guitar string in the right angles, and it was already standing up, and I was super happy at this point. And since I rolled up barbed hands, I just got some barbed wire from my hobby store, and I was very surprised how sharp it was. So if you're using those kind of hobby barbed wires, please be careful, because I kind of cut myself on it. It felt like real barbed wire. I just put some super glue over it, smush it around a bit with this little stick, and then it was already time to glue him to his base. This beautiful Micro Art Studios resin base. With that, the basic sculpt was almost ready, but of course we are missing some very important stuff: the corrosion texture. If you've seen any of my videos, I can't do a thing without some texture paints. I just have to apply them, and well, I rolled up dirty, so we have to make him oily, dirty, rusty. And since I'm not the best sculptor, as you can see, it will add some more detail that we didn't sculpt on, but just smushed on with the corrosion texture. The butt is looking, yeah, it looks fine at this point, but of course we need to paint him. So at first I'm using my trusty surface primer from Scale 75, a super matte black primer, because I'm just hooked on the super matte paints, and I'm doing a little underspray with a warm brown because I want to make him greenish, grayish, and this will be a very good warm contrasty shadow color for that. And I'm going further with the scale colors. I'm using this pretty intense green tone as a base green, because I want to apply a lighter, more grayish green as a highlight, and this is just a very good base for that. And this is that color, the field gray from the Scale 75 line. And with that I'm just going over the upper parts of the miniature, just giving everything a good clean highlight, making sure I have a nice blend and to get some interest in a miniature, to kind of liven it up, make it pop, and when we add all our dirt and rust, it will be a very great contrast. As always, the airbrush is saving us a lot of time, but you can do all this with the brush as well. And with that, it's time to get out my brushes, and at first I'm using my makeup brush here to get some creamy highlights and just do a dry brush all over to get out the details, and then it's just a matter of getting all the other base coats on there. I'm using some black for the tubes and for some details, and I really learned that when you sculpt something yourself, if you make things too soft, it becomes like freehanding to paint your details. My favorite metal color, the Vallejo airbrush line of metal colors, the burnt iron, is one of the darkest one in there. It's kind of like bolt gun metal or lead bulger, but you just need one coat and it is already done. Magic in a bottle. If you don't have those colors, get them. Another good metal line is the Metal Alchemy line from Scale Color, and this is a bit more creamy in texture, but it's just one coat as well. And I love this brassy color. At this point I didn't know what kind of base coat all the different parts are getting, but I was sure that I want red lenses, because the green armor of the bot with red lenses. It just pops so good. This is a very old recipe I learned in the 3rd edition Elder Codex from Warhammer 40k. You take a dark red and with lighter and lighter reds up to an orange, you just paint it lighter and lighter to the left corner of the lens, and I'm doing like half with a mid red, a quarter with an even lighter red, and then in the end more or less just a small little line of orange right on the edge there. And when you got all these red tones down, which doesn't take too long, it almost looks perfect with just that. But to really get the glossy look, you just apply one small white dot. And if you have 7 of those lenses, it really looks kinda impressive, I have to say that myself. And some more details, we want to make the brass a bit more shiny, and for that I'm using some lighter metal tones and just do a, well, it's something between a dry brush and an overbrush. I don't get all the color out of my brush, but I just don't fill it up that much and just lightly touch the surfaces to make them, yeah, shiny. And this boy is looking kinda good, but of course we need the dirty down rust. This is something you all need in your collection if you wanna do easy rust effects. Of course you could paint all this with normal acrylics, but it would take much longer. So I want to paint efficiently for the most part. Sometimes I want to paint very detailed just because it can be very fun, but using the dirty down is really a no-brainer, especially if you take it a bit further with a little dry brush of a bright orange to get some color variation in there. And I just used my metal color again to go over the black parts to make it, yeah, a bit used, a bit shiny, getting some highlights without much fuss, but still great results. And another no fuss tool I love to use are animal washes, just like this one from AK Interactive, and I just apply it anywhere where I think I don't have enough contrast at the moment, and I don't have to think too much about it, because wherever I don't like it, I can just remove it with some paint thinner and a Q-tip. But sometimes I go a bit overboard with the Q-tip and the thinner and remove too much, but if that's the case, I'm just applying some more animal wash. And to really make the shipping pop, I'm just taking the light beige from the beginning dry brush and go around all those parts, mostly on the undersides of the shipping, to really make it pop out more. I can already see the finish line on my little bot here, so all that's left to do is painting the base, and I'm doing a very easy recipe. I'm just applying the metal color I used for the bot as well, making sure to get all the nooks and crannies so that the green primer won't show. And then I'm getting out the Old Faithful here, the good old Nuln oil, to go over the black parts, just because I thought they could use some more contrast. And I go over the base as well, making sure I spread it evenly, don't let it pool too much, although if it pools, it's just spilled oil. And with a light dry brush over the base, getting all those nice details of the base to really pop out. And of course, we can't have a model without some rust pigments. And I'm applying this to the black parts as well, because it really gives a nice fade and it blends the whole model together. And the rust gets even more detailed and interesting with the addition of the rust pigments without much effort. And maybe I'm overselling the not much effort part, because you still have to be kind of smart where to put it. You don't just want to slap it on, and I'm using micro amounts because this stuff is getting everywhere. And to really get the base dirty, I'm using some umber pigments and I'm blending them in with the rust pigments just to give some more color variation in the base. And after all these nice dirty things, of course, we have to blacken our rim. And with our nice black rim, we have a finished bot in all its rusty, dirty, meat grindy glory, ready to cause some ruckus in the Gutterlands.
Okay, after some sculpting and some painting, we got this little fella. I think he falls somewhere between menacing and cute, maybe even more on the cute side, but it was a lot of fun to build him, and I have to build him a body, and I think I will sculpt that one myself as well, because sculpting this miniature was more fun than I anticipated, and I was kind of skeptical while doing it because it looked so cutesy and roundish and, well, not like a real miniature, if you get what I'm saying. But after painting him, I was very, very happy with him, and so I got my very first Bangarang bot, and I'm very glad to be part of this collaboration. Thank you to Bill for inviting me, and I can't wait to see all the great creations of the other creators, and of course for you to see those as well in their videos. But I am not only thankful to Bill for inviting me on the collaboration, I am very thankful for all the people supporting me on Instagram, me on YouTube, and especially my patrons on patreon.com. And my newest patrons are Boof, Greg in a Basket, Tiger Graffiti, Mesrek, Del Miet, Lorenza Preda, and Guillaume Fricot. If I said any of those names wrong, I'm very sorry. I'm just a little German boy. So not only do we have some exclusive stuff on Patreon, I also have some shirts now. This black metal style shirt and this Ochre Brute illustration shirt, they are all on the Redbubble store. I put the link down in the description, and if you want to support me, get a shirt, show off to your friends that you know some micro YouTuber. And yeah, what else can I say then? Thank you. I think the next video will be kind of Apocrypha Now centric again. Because he has a nice challenge out there, and maybe I want to take part in that. Well, we see what I come up with. Thank you all, and enjoy some glory shots of our little friend here, the Bangarang bot.